People to join us. Is the voice clear? Loud and clear. Thank you. We are filling up the hall and looks good. Ladies and gentlemen in this room, are you all comfortable? If you can just move up in front, please. All right. The show will soon start. May I quickly ask all of you to look at the left, look to your left and to your right, please? Come on, you can do that. Look to your left. Say hi to somebody there. Look to your... Yes, finish. You know why? This is a quick exercise. In a little while from now, you're going to be so glued on to what's happening here in the podium, you will turn around and say, oh my God. So that's why a quick exercise. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome. My name is Jyoti Thomas and I'm part of my proud organization, Flow Chennai, FICCI Flow Chennai. It's my honor here to welcome each and every one of you for our own flagship program. MMA has been very kind in partnering with us, and we will start quickly and make sure that you have an enjoyable journey. If there is somebody who says that they've made no mistakes, what would you say? Everything is going right. Thank you. Somebody is saying something. So it's believed that they've never tried anything new. So with that, today, we bring to you a program, Her Story. People you can see, touch, feel, and they tell you what they went through. It's no fiction, no theater, true life. With that, it gives me immense pleasure to call none other than our very own chairperson, Mrs. Prasanna Vasanadu. As you see her walk in, she's not just a chairperson this year, but a befitting person for today's entrepreneur program. The Startup Cell truly feels proud that we are part of this lovely lady. Thank you. Over to you, Prasanna.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. I don't think I can follow up with that in welcoming you all, but as it is mandatory, it is my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here this afternoon. I know we've been delayed thanks to all the traffic our beautiful city has, but it's great to see you all. And today's program, I have to say, is extra special. Of all the programs we've had so far in Flow, this is very special because we have our very own rock stars from Flow who are going to be on stage sharing their stories. And stories, as is, have a transformative power in allowing us to see the world in a different perspective.
Truly standing tall. Now, we move on to something about today's program, the Startup Cell, and who's going to be talking to us about it is none other than our very own Startup Cell activities in charge, Miss Priya Gautam. She heads the Chennai Flow Startup Cell and mentorship at the national level. Miss Priya Gautam, who will talk to us about it. Thank you.
Good evening, and I find this place so nostalgic because every Her Story was done here, and here we're coming with the 4th episode of Her Story, and really lovely to see all of you and young students who've come from college today and to be a part of this startup initiative that we have. A quick, intro about this is mandatory, and I need to do this because we want more and more startups to be built in our lovely continent. And so if you're a woman and if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should be in FICCI. So that's a little bit of a sell. But anyway, India today is one of the biggest nations in the startup ecosystem, and as the largest women's chamber of commerce, we feel we need to be a part of this ecosystem. And for that, we have a robust vertical called the Startup Cell, the Flow Startup Cell. In the past few years, a lot of work has been done. We started this in 2015. And to make us reach where we are today, it's been a journey. And we have over 500 plus startups in the Flowpreneur community throughout India. Our aim is to be able to support women entrepreneurship, women investors, and be able to help these Flowpreneurs think, build, scale, pitch, and fund. These are words I think it should resonate in your mind because these are all things that a startup entrepreneur would go through. Another aspect of the startup ecosystem is investors. Flow is not only a conglomerate of young founders, but our strength is also the experienced leaders who we wish them to become angels to these Flowpreneurs and invest and guide them. To these angels, we aim to provide market access, training, insights, shared experiences, camaraderie, and syndication, which will help them learn the nuances of angel investing. So there are 4 pillars of the Startup Cell. The first one is, of course, government alliances. Second is mentorship. Third is Flow Angels. And fourth is a virtual incubator. I'll just quickly run through a couple of things that you all should know, because if you have any questions on this, you could probably come back and meet me post this event. So under government alliances, we work with international and government collaborations, panel discussions, cross-learning, boot camps, tie-ups with funds. Under mentorship, we are actually building a pool of mentors year on year. As we stand, we have 67 certified mentors across the country. We leverage all of their mentorship to foster the startup-preneurs. The opportunity for certified mentors to become mentors for other startups other than Flow is also an opportunity. We continue offering mentoring as a training. We have something very interesting called a speed mentoring. This is like speed dating. You have any quick question and you want to know, so you could actually get in touch with the mentors and then get your answers right there. Then we have the next pillar, which is Flow Angels. Now this is for all the women who've been there in business, done that, and now you want to give back to the younger generation. Here is an opportunity for you all. Here what we do is we do training and hand-holding. We also accumulate or assemble a syndicate of angel investors, access to early stage startup funds, and network with investment opportunities. And lastly, this virtual incubator actually was born during COVID because we did not know how to sort of get everybody onto one location as an incubator. So we said, why don't we open it across the country? And so we have MOUs with almost all the incubators across the country. So today, if you are a startup and you want a specific requirement from any incubator, we are able to access that. So that's the beauty about this virtual incubator. And we collaborate and engage with funds. We also have another interesting opportunity that we've recently signed up is with Zoho. So any entrepreneur who would like to access any of the Zoho One platform, we are here to help you on that as well. But you have to be in flow for engaging with those. So just making a statement, but it's not mandatory. But lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priya. Once again, welcome to everybody online and those of who are here. The next is something which is mandatory. May I request all of you to kindly check your phone and mute them, please? So we have an uninterrupted experience of every speaker here. As we begin, everybody involved in today's program are all part of the Flow Chennai Ladies Organization. And I'm going to call Deepa Shah, part of our startup cell, who will now come and introduce one of the panelists. I'm going to give the names later. Deepa Shah.
And starting its first international exhibition in Colombo this year. Sheetal Jain has had a very diverse background at work before she finally took the plunge in fashion. She has a master's degree in computer science and went on to complete her ACS to foray in the world of finance. She has had the privilege of working with the biggest names in the corporate lending and finance sector. She has worked closely with all the leading banks in India and the stock market regulator. She was also involved in fundraising of over 10 million. Today, she has her own practice and actively involved in startups and also consults private and public companies on various compliances. Style Bazaar promotes and encourages budding Indian design talent from other cities across the subcontinent to ensure that the shoppers have something unseen and unique to look forward to each time. It is very meticulously curated to get the best quality products at the best prices. Style Bazaar has introduced several new concepts to the exhibition, and one of them is a Style Icon Award, which honors women entrepreneurs and professionals who excel in what they do and have undying romance with style. And it's soon metamorphed into a style celebration where networking and shopping are synonymous to Style Bazaar. Welcome, Sheetal.
Sheetal, would you like to come up onto the podium, please? Thank you, Deepa. Now, the second interesting person being introduced by yet another interesting personality. Ms. Rachna Kumar, part of the committee and part of Startup Cell, will introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much. I'm honored to stand here today in front of this august audience and introduce Chennai's pride, Chennai's most favorite, someone who can boast of having given a part of herself with determination and passion to Chennai so that it could tide over its hard time and crisis. Yes, you're right. It's Rinku Macheri. Rinku Macheri is a social entrepreneur who started her journey in the development sector when she founded Chennai Volunteers in 2011. She switched to social sector from advertising and seamlessly wove the tenets of marketing with her passion for volunteering. She leads this initiative with a team of like-minded individuals who are dedicated to building a supportive infrastructure for nonprofits while enriching the experience of volunteers and creating awareness on social issues. Chennai Volunteers is a not-for-profit initiative that works towards enhancing awareness on the role of individuals in society. It drives civic engagements by facilitating volunteers to meaningfully giving back to deserving NGOs in a sustainable way. It has nurtured the values of volunteering for 10 years while reinforcing the difference an individual can make by giving time. Ms. Mecheri is also director Giving Matters Foundation, a philanthropic initiative that supports several charities, fosters the spirit of giving and gratitude by leveraging technology and promising transparency. She also serves on the board of several nonprofits and believes that collaboration and collective action is a key to success of an inclusive and equitable civic society. She is passionate about people power and finds daily inspiration in people she meets, like us. A voracious reader, she spends considerable time mentoring people, holding volunteer training programs, and exploring new vistas for being the change. She blogs her thoughts at Volunteers Matters and needs no reason to volunteer. And with great pride, let me tell you, some of you who don't know, that she was a past chair for Chennai chapter 2021. Presenting to you Chennai's most sought after, Chennai's strength, Rinku Mecheri. Thank you.
That's Rinku Mecheri of CV, a CV that you need on your CV for those who are here. Thank you very much. Now, Chitra Gopinath, our senior member, committee member, member of FLOW, will introduce the third panelist. Chitra Gopinath.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Shweta Kochar. She's a partner at PKC Management Consulting, advising large companies on digital transformation, process consulting, and financial services. PKC today has a team of 100 professionals and a large base of 1,500 plus clients globally. She's an ex-management consultant with McKinsey & Company in Mumbai, who worked directly with CEOs of Indian multinationals on solving strategic and operational problems. Kochar is a chartered accountant by profession, with All India rank 13 in CA Final and 41 in CA Intermediate. Shweta has won several national awards, including Entrepreneur of the Year from Entrepreneur Magazine, Women in Business Recognition from the former Governor of Tamil Nadu, Indian Achievers Award, amongst others. Speaker at forums such as Madras Chamber of Commerce, RAI, Retailers Association of India, Madras Management Association, MMA, and she's also an author of a book titled 20 Game-Changing Retail Strategies, a Founder's Guide to Building a Retail Icon. Outside of work, Shweta has traveled to all 7 continents, an extensive reader of philosophy and scripture, and works on empowering women to have the freedom of choice. Please join me in welcoming Shweta.
Thank you very much. Now, my turn. Yeah, I think, okay. The human spirit is unlimited and not defined by any boundaries. That's a mantra and guiding principle. A committed professional, a lady deeply entrenched in marketing. It's like body, soul, and mind. She's won several accolades through her career to date and has been featured in the 100 MSME Inspirational Stories released by the Honorable Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, in May 2020. Her core strength is in the field of marketing, strategy, and technology. where she has an enviable 20 plus years of multifaceted experiences, including setting up of new businesses with startup, scaling up, expertise in the small, medium, and large enterprises. She's currently heading the National Floor Startup Cells, Virtual Incubator, and the Mentoring Vertical, a role she plays cheerfully. It's been going on since 2021. May I now invite a person we call as RP, Rangapriya or Priya, for a fireside chat with the three lovely ladies here. Thank you.
Is it audible? A small disclaimer, I'm just recovering from a viral, so in case I cough, please don't mind, but it is not infectious, so I just wanted to go there. So, good evening. So the format of this is that we have questions which I will go one after the other, and there's also a rapid fire. That was a surprise for you all, so yeah. Okay, so the first question, I'll start with Shweta. Shweta, you worked with several industry leaders. How was it different for you to work with startups, especially in the tech sector? Is it on? It's on.
No, thank you so much first for having me. It's amazing to see the room filled with lovely women and men. It's a pleasure to be here today. What's the difference in working with industry leaders, established companies versus startups? So I think it's widely different. It was a conversation we were having at office earlier today as well. So when we do digital transformation work, or when we set systems and processes for companies that are already established, around for 50 years, grandfather still in the business, father still in the business, versus doing it for a 5-year-old, very fast-growing startup, there's a huge difference on several aspects. One is, I think, tech adoption. Right? We're currently in conversation with Dunzo to automate some of their Dunzo retail. Right? And when we get in, we see that so much automation has already been done. Right? And at the level of tech adoption is obviously one of the highest. Whereas when we do engagements with more traditional companies, let's say a TVS or any smaller company that has been run by the family, there's even basic automation that needs to be done. There's also a big difference on speed. Every 6 months in a startup looks different. So there's a lot of reinvention that happens of the business model. I've literally seen companies trash their model every year and rebuild it. Whereas with traditional companies, less risk taking because the model is set, and also the thinking is different. So when we, for example, did a digital transformation for the income tax portal, we sort of helped build the income tax portal. You wouldn't believe it took. The due date was over, and 6 months after the due date also, there were still things under construction, and it also went live. So some of the things operate very differently at a larger scale, and with
I think data is also very key. There's a humongous amount of data that you have there.
Yeah.
That people are able to make certain decisions based on data that you have, and of course tech is really a lot that needs to play today.
Absolutely.
And yeah, in today's life, I think if you don't have tech, somewhere we are missing the bus. So it's important, and I think people are looking at starting something in tech. So that's a clue for you guys. Our next question is to, thanks Shweta for that. Our next question is to Sheetal Jain, okay? Sheetal, I've known you for some time.
Thank you.
But so can you share about your journey founding and scaling Style Bazaar?
Thank you for Priya and Vicky Flo for having me here. It's such a pleasure and honor to be among all of you. And Style Bazaar, I am basically a finance professional. So while I'm a practicing company secretary and was working in the corporate sector. While doing that, there was one personal, shortcoming, problem of mine which I wanted to solve. So getting the right kind of, the comfort clothing or the kind of clothes I wanted at the we took it up and
From a different line of work, but tell us something that was easier or harder than you expected in building up your NGO, and what next from here?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. And like I was telling her, this is legitimately weird to be on the other side of floor and talk to everyone. But yes, coming to numbers, I didn't see how I would grow further. And that is when I decided that I would use my marketing and branding skills and use technology as a platform to create something which had nothing well, volunteering, make the NGOs believe that volunteering would add value to the NGO, that people would come and, actually make a difference to their condition, alleviate their poverty, their skill set, help them generate and become sustained in terms of their own well-being. So it was a lot of missionary marketing, but it worked out. I think once you are convinced about something, the rest is all a matter of time.
You said marketing is a very key element here. So do you think every startup needs to think and budget something for marketing per se, just as a conceptually right format, moving forward in business?
Absolutely. I would say marketing, and in today's context, more personalized marketing or
Taking the center stage. There are a lot of things that has happened. And I think in the line that you were, I'm sure you had a lot of, I don't know, but I just thought maybe there could be some anecdotes or stories that you could probably share with the young teams here sitting.
Yes, it's been a very, I thought, when we grew up, right, our parents, we were fortunate, our parents, I have another sister, and our parents brought us up like they would probably have brought up sons also, right? There was no differentiation. And so I was probably unaware of, how things were when we really, when we started to go outside. There were situations where, I've had clients tell me, either to me directly, which I think was better, but sometimes to my teams, saying, we're not comfortable working with your boss. Right? We're not comfortable working with women. I, in fact, had somebody very recently, as late as last year, and in a very sophisticated forum in Chennai, who said, you colored your hair, right? You could have colored it white and you'll get paid more. At least you'll earn more. And I didn't know how that was funny, right? The person intended it to be a joke, but it was clearly, about age, about gender, right? And this happens every now and then. So, what I had to build my own coping mechanism. So I then started, over the last 5 years, I had my father sit in meetings just to be there, right? And so he is a senior tax expert, right? But doesn't work in the digital transformation space that I work in. But, to the person on the opposite side, that it's a serious business that I run. So yes, I'm happy to be here for that reason, because several senior industry people have moved back to the city, after working in the US or in Bombay to live with their parents. So we've built that senior board of experts, and we, when I go to a meeting, there's the, senior person with me. So, it happens very often. I have stopped complaining about it at all, but it is the reality that, we all find ways. But I think the bigger challenge for me as a woman was at home, and at home while having a very progressive family, right? It's my in-laws are as progressive as my, my parents are. And even with all this privilege, I still had a very tough time. And I cannot begin to imagine what people who are not as fortunate as me would, probably go through. And the challenges were bizarre, where this enthusiasm would be met by, you have a family to take care of, and they wouldn't, small things, right? They wouldn't give me a cabin till I was in the business for 5 years, and I needed it because we had several client meetings. And when I was going to have a child, when I got pregnant, so we had opportunities to work with large funds. Sequoia is one of them. It's a large venture capital firm. So we were doing some work with some of their portfolio companies. And every time I was told, "What if you don't come back? Who's going to take care of all this? Do you know what you're doing?" And I said, why do you think I will not come back? Right? What is even, why? But then there was we weren't allowed to take some of these things. There was some culture changes in the office which we weren't hiring women for a very long time. I think only in the last 4 years. Oh, they'll come, they'll get married. Okay, and then they'll want to have a baby, so they'll leave, they'll not join back. Right? You can't hire women, literally no women. Right? It's embarrassing to say it, but then it is the truth. And I said, no, I find it bizarre because I go and speak to women at events and it's wrong at at all levels. But that was the mentality, right? At several points saying, you cannot do this, we don't trust. And I was back at work in 45 days after I had my child. And after that is when so much change happened. We in fact went ahead to split the firm because it wasn't possible to grow. The vision was different, a very large, aggressive vision to be India's largest, process consulting digital transformation company. Was met with a lot of restrictions. So we said, this is not going to work. At some point, I said, I'm quitting. This was 2 years back. I said, I have great options outside. I am quitting. And that is when they agreed, we agreed that we will. So my father and I continue to work together. And we split the firm. And largely, a large part of it happens to do with, how people think about women and what women can do and how serious they would be about work. And the last 2 years have been phenomenal because there's been no holds barred in what can be done. So it's and when I look back, I feel like I should have trusted myself more. I should have done it a lot earlier. I shouldn't have lived because every time I was told, don't rock the boat too much. Right? You've just come in. Right? You're still young. And I used to think I'm always going to be young. I'm going to be younger than the rest of you. So I probably spent a very long time, trying to not rock the boat. Yeah, but it doesn't work. I should have.
Interesting. I mean, it's a journey that everybody has to go through. But I think it's also that sometimes we have to break, like you mentioned, there was a calling that you had to do it a lot earlier, sooner or later. Yeah. So Sheetal, the next question is for you. Was there any particular challenge that you faced as an entrepreneur, more specifically as a woman entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur, the challenge when we started Style Bazaar was primarily the bootstrapping of the business, that it is a very, very, it is a cash-centric business and everything has to come from your saving because we were not a funded organization. So the complete funding, and when we are starting something, everything had to be in advance. So largely the means which we were using were very expensive and it had to be in advance. So that part of it was always there, and even today it comes from within our company. So the funds which we are using, they come. And the second part is the marketing, because we are our business which is there, the whole platform is there for 2 days whenever we do it. So the marketing avenues have been immense in the last 3 years. So just the traditional marketing which is there for like probably the paper or the radio or the benchmark ones are not working. We have to try every marketing strategy which is there on the book, and all of that we have to make sure that in spite of all the events happening, our event is on top of their mind, because the 2 days is what we have to have them at the event. So that is a challenge which we face at every event, because it's the same with every event. And as a woman entrepreneur, this field has been, we've had many women entrepreneurs, but to begin when you start something, especially on the production side, when we are doing the production of the event and the fabrication and other things, they don't take you seriously till you are actually there. So you have to be at it, like even for a small thing, you have to personally do it. Even for an ad to appear on a particular page, so the page 3, you have to be constantly reminding them that is it done that way. Otherwise, they would probably just, they might not take you that seriously till you actually, like 2 years back, then they realize, no, this is going to be there, this is here to stay. Till then, you have to be on top of that. So that has been the challenges of the business for us during the journey.
So what I understand, and probably just to make it more clearer for people, is that So one is that you have to build a brand for you to get recognized, and so you have to be at it to make sure that your brand is noticed. So that's one. The second is like any channel of marketing is not going to work for any business. You have to pick the channel that might work and constantly reinvent that.
Reinvent. So these are the things which we generally do is ideate, take the risk, deliver and reiterate, because this is a constant in our business.
That's a journey.
It's a journey, and we always have to keep learning from what happened in our last show. So every event and every show of mine is a learning, and we have to actually immediately take up what the learning and implement in our next. So it is a constant cycle, but the dots always join. So if you are at it, you'll actually find the answer.
End of the day, it's a happy story.
It is a happy story.
Thanks for that, Sheetal. Rinku, what would your advice be to someone who is starting a social entrepreneurship?
I would say, firstly, that a lot more youngsters do need to get into social enterprises. I think we're at that cusp, and we are from a country wherein you need to identify a problem, a social issue, and then look for a solution and make sure that you can give back in a certain way to even people who work, people who benefit around it, and create a sustained and impactful ecosystem or a structure. Having said that, I think three things. For any social enterprise or a social impact venture, you need to have passion, unlimited amount of. You need to have a purpose. And thirdly, and most importantly, you need to be persistent. If you can get all these three right, then you definitely have, something that will go a long way. Apart from that, it's very important to keep the startup mindset a little on the hindsight and focus more on the social impact. Everything else will fall into place. When you're thinking of a social venture, the impact or what good you're going to do, who you're going to help, how many people are you going to transform, that is what is most important. With your structure, with your investment, funding, with, the kind of backup structures that you have, systems, everything else falls into line. It may vary in terms of the timelines, but eventually you do succeed.
Thanks, Rinku. And a lot of people I hear right now, many of the startups, they sort of set aside some part of their fund for socially impactful projects. So does that really benefit any of the, social entrepreneurs to sort of tap those funds or,
charity is the easiest way to make yourself feel good. What entrepreneurs should do, and my guru in this is Professor Muhammad Yunus, who's my idol in life, is to create a social business. There are so many world-class brands who've actually spun off social businesses on the side that help people. So I think as people who are entrepreneurs, as people who are successful professionals, it's important to have that one venture which is for good, so that you actually help people come out of poverty, come out of helplessness, come out of financial dependence for a lifetime, so they can bring their families up also.
A very good point. And
I like to
sure.
because we are, in this business, and of course we started it as a startup, but then our social impact, not directly, but the people who participate in the event and people who we have given certain privileges because, of they not been able to afford it. So we do help some people, and today they are success stories. So coming back, when they tell us about how their journey has been and trying to afford a 10,000 rupees for a rent, and today they participate all over India with even more than 1.5 lakhs as a rent of 2 days. So that has been kind of, motivating to have to make them a part of this journey. And COVID again was a very big challenge for everybody associated with us when they were working with us, and suddenly 8 months they had nothing to do. So they are small-time entrepreneurs who have the business rotation of 2 months probably, and 2 to 3 months would be their savings. So when in October they wanted to when everything was shut, right? So they called me in September that do something online, something where we could sell and at least try, start something. We did start the online session, online shopping through our contacts, which we did. But that was a very minimalistic part. But we were the first organization to start exhibitions back after COVID in October 2020. Yeah, it was a very, very challenging thing, a very high risk venture, but truly, it was rewarding, and I think the best decision we have taken, because that was, when they finished the first show and they came back and they said that now for 1 month we are safe, whatever happens. So when that happens, it is truly another feeling. It's not just business what you've done, it is somebody's life you've touched. So that always motivates you. Anything, numbers cannot motivate you more than this.
Thank you. So there's a question that anybody can answer, but I think I'll shoot it to Shweta first. It is said that for many women entrepreneurs to get access to funding, there's a need for women to become an investor. What is your take on that?
I don't know if that really is the case. Of course, being an investor gives you some sort of a network of investors. Let's say if you're part of Chennai Angels or any other angel platform, it gives you access to other investors, but I don't know if that is really a prerequisite, because I think that there's so much money chasing startups today, right? That everybody is part of some angel network today. There is so much money, floating around and chasing good startups. So I'm not sure if being an investor is really a prerequisite or a very big, very big step towards raising money. But I think the core part is if it's solving for a problem, a real problem, one, two, which can be scaled, multiplied and scaled, because only that makes a fundable business, right? Only if it can multiply quickly in 5 years does it give the investor an exit. So a slower growing, more stable businesses aren't really investor friendly. So if it can solve it at scale, and the founders are those that investors think capable to take a bet on, I think that is pretty much it.
Okay. Anything you want to pick up anything from there? The question. It's said that for many women entrepreneurs to get access to funding, there's a need for a woman to become an investor. What's your take on that? That was a question.
No, I don't think so. And I second what Shweta just said, that the business plan has to be in place. And actually, if it is working and if it is scalable and it is showing profit, I think it is definitely a good bet for funding. So those points have to be in place before actually going for the networking. Yeah. So the business itself is more important than the network first.
But yes, as an entrepreneur, I would say, and when I say entrepreneur, I'm surrounded by them, and that's the life I lead vicariously through my husband and my son. So I do believe that networking or knowing about investment and even investing on your own does give you an insight into the other side and what you need to know. So I do know of certain entrepreneurs who are also investors, right? And they go beyond their purview and they do things like that. So it definitely would help. It definitely would help create a network for yourself and make you more aware, especially, when you're a little more advanced in your journey as an entrepreneur.
Thank you all for that. This is very interesting question that I wanted to ask all of you. Has there been any mentor in your lives before, or do you have now and you continue to have? And what does a mentor's role really do to your kind of business that you're doing? Maybe, you could share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I've actually had multiple different mentors for different things. So it's funny, I have a few people from McKinsey that I really look up to. Today they run, one of them is a founder of a company called Off Business. She and her husband have created 2 unicorns, one each in their businesses. And she's mentored me for the last 10 years on everything to do with women. Should I have a child? How do I find a nanny for my child? Like stupid things to actual meaningful things. So she's a lady called Richie that I so look up to for everything women. I have so different mentors for different things. For the business itself, we have a board of advisors. very senior industry people who advise us, who meet every month and advise us towards the goal, the vision that we've set for ourselves. So that's been very helpful. I've actually built these small domains. If it's something to do with marketing, I have a set of people who are very smart, because I don't think one person can be good at everything. Everybody is very smart at a few things, and if we can find that, then it's very helpful. So if there's anything to do with let's say marketing, I have a couple of guys. One of them is an Egyptian. I think he knows email marketing. For a B2B business like us, it's LinkedIn and email, which is our primary channels. Instagram is actually nothing for a business like us. So they mentor me with anything to do with this side of the business. If it's core tax and technicals, or it's new technology, so there's different people that I've categorized, and I tell them, hey, you're the best person that I know at it.
Interesting. Thanks for that. Rinku.
So,
Your mentor is Yunus?
no, I wish he would be, but no, he would just make me a socialist. So that wouldn't work in my own family. But so my first boss who is called the father of direct marketing, and he's retired now. He was my first mentor, and even today he's the one, and he's actually a consultant now. He's 78 years old, and I still consult with him regularly. Apart from that, I find a lot of pertinent inputs from people who work in the NGOs, who are founders, who I work with. I feel they come with this wealth of knowledge, and which is based on real life experiences of theirs. So I look up to them, I seek them quite often. And of course, there are some people who run organizations that manage people a lot better. So training organizations, because volunteer management, volunteers, training, upskilling is all about people capital. Right. So I look up, so like something similar to what Shweta says, I have different people for different heads, because I don't really find everything coming together in one person.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
true. My first mentors have been from the corporate industry, because I've been there. So Mr. Farooq Irani, who's the father of leasing in India, was my boss. And so problem solving and analyzing is a very big thing which he taught me, and to look at something, especially numbers. So how to look at numbers and how to actually solve a problem is something which I learned under him. And after that, I apply that in a lot of what I do today also. And so that has been a very big learning. And apart from that, as I said, we use different mediums of advertising. One, I myself keep educating myself on different courses. So even the digital bit of it, I'm at it. So when something has come, the new technology, the algorithm changes, I do short courses to, get myself updated. And apart from that, I have very senior people in the advertising industry who keep giving inputs on what is going on, what is the trend. And we follow. And of course, I have my sister who runs her own advertising agency in Delhi. So she has been a great support on every front. So on, even market research is one thing which we constantly need, because we are in 7 cities now. So whenever we start a new city, we need somebody to do a market research for us and then come back. Is it viable or not? And are there too many competition already? Because every city is viable, but amongst competition, is it good to start again? So we do a lot of market research. So there are, I think...
in all these places, you look at any particular mentor, apart from family, any external mentors that you have?
We have external mentors. Okay. We have an agency especially for market research. Okay. We have our parameters who they actually go and do their research and come back with their feedback. Okay. And only if it is viable, at least 70%, we go ahead with it. So that is there. The same thing happened for Colombo as well. Okay. It was a great market when we actually researched it and we were going to go ahead. But all of the sudden, the financial crisis happened. Right. But even with that, now they say in the next 2 months, it's going to be a better market then. Yeah, it is going to bounce back. So we have people at different ends who do the market research. So I look up, I think we all have different people for our different categories who can help us in this.
I think the takeaway here is that mentors come with different strengths. So the moment you identify that strength which is required for your business, that's going to help you. I think that's pretty much. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is Startup Cell has got great mentors. So please do reach out to them. Sometimes, you need to sell. I'm just doing a little bit of marketing. So, I'm going to just take a few more questions, but interesting questions. And audience, if you have your questions, please do keep that in mind. You have an opportunity to ask these questions, and you can also answer it to yourself. So if you get the answers out here. So the next question is, Shweta, what set you on the path to pursue your venture? Something that you covered earlier, but what motivated you, and what has been your significant learning from your mentor? Maybe follow up of the questions.
Right. So what set me up for entrepreneurship is actually, I went back and forth on this, even till, when I looked most...
Sturdy job, nice name, and...
Yeah, exactly. Even until 3 years ago, I still continue to get headhunters who call me and say, hey, chief of strategy position at this large multinational or CEO position at this fast growing startup. And it's very enticing. The money is great, the position, the travel.
9 to 5, 9 to 8.
Yeah, no stress, more than anything else.
No
It
9
is,
to 5.
I mean, it's wrong to say no stress, but then it's different kind of stress. And I went back and forth, and even today, very often my husband tells me, you'll make a CEO. You make a great CEO because I probably CEO the house too much. So I went back and forth, but then the last 2 years of entrepreneurship have really then taught me that no, this is what I want to do because I have had a great journey in not having restrictions and grow a company with the vision that I had and fail and not have people question it to the point where you never have the courage to try again. So now I love that last 2 years have been have made me sort of get conviction in the fact that okay, entrepreneurship is what it is for me. What I've learned from my mentor, that was the other question?
Yeah.
I think there are so many things that I've picked up from different mentors. One thing which probably stands out is become useless to your business, right? And that's when the real growth comes. And when I say that, what it means is that set the business up in a way where you are not required to run the day-to-day operations, and that is when a business can really grow. Right? If you have to be there on a day-to-day basis to run the business, then there's so much time that goes into managing the existing business that growth really slows down. It's not possible to wear the growth hat and the operations hat at one time. This is one of the things, and that's why the last 2 years have been.
It's a very great point you said, because most of the entrepreneurs want to do everything themselves. It's like that actor, producer, director, clap boy, everything. Then it becomes a sick unit. So it's a great point, and I think most of us have to remember this: that give the person the job that they're good with. Say if somebody's good in finance, give it to the finance person and things like that. It's a reaffirmation of most of the thoughts that we have here. Yeah.
Yes, so that's been a great experience. And it actually makes work so much more fun because then you get to choose, because we all also have our own strengths. And we get to really double down on our strengths and hire great people and empower. Lots of us hire great people, but do we really give them all the authority and the, and the space to operate, the right incentive systems and the right powers and the freedom to also make mistakes? Yeah. Right, and not question them, down, kill motivation. And hire people for the rest of it. And that's what work has actually made fun for me. So I picked a few areas that I love doing, that gives me energy, and run those myself. And for all of the others, I've spent so much time hiring, finding great people, and building the organization to that.
That's a very tough task to hire good people and retain them, you know. I'm sure
it's a
a lot of our
nightmare.
friends here would resonate with that. It's a challenge to find, you know, but anyway, that's a good point and, you know, for all of us to take back something. Rinku, this is for you. During the pandemic, how do you align your work pedagogy efforts to serve communities you work with?
So I think COVID or pandemic or any crisis is a great equalizer. That's one time, and whether it was the Chennai floods or it's been COVID, we've seen it in our city from very close quarters, right? So the way we work generally is you collaborate, there's collective impact and action, and there's a very active feedback mechanism, which is there. So the COVID, right from phase one, and when a crisis hits is when a volunteer becomes a warrior. That is the only way you can explain it. So wave one, we worked with other NGOs and the government, and we actually helped with the migration transportation out of Tamil Nadu. I have some friends who translated and did calls for me at that time as well. And so right from identifying to calling them, to locating them, to providing provision kits to everybody who was on the ground, to moving them to hostels that were vacant and getting them onto trains to go back to the states. That's what we did. Apart from that, we also have about 100 NGO partners who needed immense help in terms of provision kits, medicines, sanitization stuff. We were helping them also. Wave 2 was very different. Everyone was locked in and there was no work on the ground. So that is when we did about 3 months of a project called COVID Resource Guide, which is 250 people sitting at home, working online and on the phone, on their computers, to create a ready reckoner or a repository of 10 verticals of resources that a family going through COVID would need. And every day they were published on our social media. And in fact, this became a book that we presented to the government at the end of the project. The third thing we did was running the helpline for COVID patient follow-up calls with the health department. So it's been going on. As long as you collaborate with different stakeholders, be it communities that are less advantaged and less privileged than we are, the government, NGOs, and of course citizens. Everyone working together, everyone working with collective impact, and the action has to be definitely heightened. So that's what we did during COVID.
Fantastic. I mean, having the resources was really very good at that time because people were wanting to find out where do you get food, where do you get this, and oxygen. There's so many things that was, you know. Anyway,
Even pets.
Yeah.
Where do you board your pets when you have COVID? Because you can't take them out for a walk. It was as simple as that. But you know, the insight for the COVID resource guide came because Delhi went through a very difficult time during the second wave of COVID, right? And resources were very, very difficult to find and source there. So someone actually shared with us saying that when you are in a problem like this and you call up, there are relatives who send you numbers for oxygen cylinders. Half your day goes off in trying to find people who will send you food or whether cylinders available, medicines, hospital beds. If only that were verified for us, it would become so much easier. So it was in response to something which was an actual need on the field.
Fantastic, Rinku. And I mean, it's so nice to hear this because there's so much work that's gone behind. And thank you.
So I also want to add that a lot of the college students who are sitting here, it's probably your college students themselves who were part of this endeavor also. We had college students from MOP Vaishnav, Shasun Jain College and WCC who were volunteers on this with their faculty.
Very nice. So Sheetal, what unseen opportunities did you see that may result in making your startup a huge success? I would call the white space probably.
No, the opportunity which we saw when we started Style Bazaar was basically we come across a lot of people who make some amazing stuff, amazing brands, amazing products, but they don't have the means and resources to market their products. And that is where we have made a platform where we actually curate people with a great product with them, which can be marketed to our consumer directly. So we not only just curate these 50 stalls in numbers, we curate them in actual quality and actual, we segregate them in a lot of categories and which our audience would like. And we know that they would actually be benefited. So both ways, our audience as well as the person who's making it benefits from it. So this is a great opportunity to get the consumer something new all the time, and a great opportunity we give for the entrepreneur to showcase their product. And this opportunity will always be on an exhibition platform, because there are people who definitely cannot. Instagram today is a large part of marketing for everybody, but with the algorithms and with all the brands coming up by the minute, so every minute you have a new brand which is on Instagram. So with that, I think this platform gives you a direct access to the actual consumer who's going to buy. So this opportunity is what we saw, and I think it'll always be there.
It sounds like D2C in its true sense, right? Direct to consumer in its truest form.
Yeah, actually, it is.
Interestingly, a lot of professionals who are working have started this in the site to sell things on Instagram. So there's a huge uproar about moonlighting is one, but also this is another area that they want to secure themselves, that having a backup business, because they do not know when they get fired and things like that. So that's another interesting twist that's happening in today's generation, where people are using the platform.
But also, India is although today 60% of India is the only country with 60% youth population, but also which can encourage, new startups and new ideas every day, but it is also a very tough market. Price point is a very, very big factor when we look at any product. So when price points and these challenges come our way, most of the people are not able to sustain. Either they consolidate if they are extremely good, or then they dissolve. So there needs to be a platform or a mean where they can, which bridges the gap, where they don't have to actually let go of their product, and they can also sustain it at some point. So we also make sure that when we started this platform, we keep it very economical, even for the people who are participating. Price point on consumer front is definitely what we saw, because comfort with price point was what was missing in the market. But even for entrepreneurs, we keep it at a very comfort level so that they can pass on this benefit to the consumer directly. So that definitely, the whole chain makes it a viable thing for all the participants in the business.
Great. So one last question for all of you. What was the biggest leadership risk you took, and what was your learning? I'll start with you, Shweta.
So we did something just a few months ago that I recall. So we went back into the client base, right? To work towards the vision that we have. We went back to the client base, and you will not believe, but we sent back 80% of the clients that we have, and it was a freakish sort of a decision, and we did that because as a firm, we do certain things, very well. So we help companies set systems and processes and get founders out of day-to-day, operations. We understand that. We understand tax. And we said all of the other non-core businesses that we do, we're going to hive it off. Because if we are spread thin, we're not going to be able to grow. And also the clients that didn't fit into the target market that we had defined for ourselves, we said, even if it's going to cost us, obviously we're going to make lesser, right, the coming year because of this decision that we've made, but we think that it will help us grow faster. Yeah, because those that didn't fit into the target market that we have defined, and the way we have built the entire business to offer the highest consumer, the highest client experience, we said we will have to take a hard call and let go of this much revenue. And we have started to see results in terms of growth rates really picking up.
It took how long for this to, the transition?
The decision, taking the decision is what was the really hard part, especially because my father, has worked with them for several years. Many of them look up to, look up to him as, as life-changing, as God, and literally like he will drive the new car that they get and all of that. I kept questioning myself if I'm being unfair, right? But I also have a team to answer to. We have 100 people, right? 100 professionals with us who have a share of the firm and who I'm answerable to in terms of the growth that we have all committed to. So it was a hard decision. And it took, I think, about 6 months of going back and forth till we said, no, we are going to do this.
Ruth? So, it's important to stop, pause, and think, like what you're saying. So I guess every business has to look at that in case they have to think about a change that they want to bring.
It also, came at a cusp for us where we said, are we going to always remain, family, owned and not allow a room for professionals to come in? And it's not possible to grow a professional services firm without having, good partners who look at the firm as their own and are allowed to make those decisions. Right. So it was also that, how much does the family's decision weigh versus other professionals' decision. So it was also a signal to them that, no, you also. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Shweta. Rinku? No, I think everywhere there's somewhere that somebody takes the leadership decision. So maybe, yeah.
So for us, the decision which we took for our business, which we thought was a risk as well, because before it is always a dilemma between scale up and core. So whether should we go fast on our cities or we should concentrate on the core. So we took this decision after pandemic that, we were already in 7 cities in 2019. So should we continue going there and take the risk or strengthen Chennai as a city first? So we stopped everything and we took Chennai as a challenge to actually increase the shows and concentrate on the core, which is things, so that we could actually read the audience very well and create a mark on a larger space rather than just being a brand that is coming every quarter or every. So we actually connected with the audience at various levels, and they then became our personal ambassadors. So today, people who come here, who experience us and who have bought something from us, or even the awards which we give, who know what we stand for as a brand, definitely come back to us, talk about us, and that has been a great journey, on the growth of Style Bazaar. So that I thought it was a good decision to concentrate on the core, on our city. And then when we took off, then again when we started, redoing our cities, the Coimbatore, and we were in Salem and Hyderabad. So what happens is, even at a point when we were so strong in Chennai, that even at a point if it is slightly lesser than expectation other ways, it is an average out. So people are always happy at the end of the day. So I think concentrating on the core was what made a change for our business and changed the whole graph for us.
Thanks, Sheetal. Rinku?
I would say for me, it was when we decided to move online 100% and in fact turned over the amount of volunteering that people could do, we almost quadrupled it in that year, 21-22. We did close to 1.5 lakh hours of volunteering, and this is because every month we know how much we work. Because otherwise there's no accountability, right? There's anyway no turnover that you're talking about. So I think for me that was a great decision that we took, because everybody was affected. Everybody was feeling sorry. But the minute they turned it into doing something for other people, they felt better themselves. And what also happened was that we ended up digitizing all our NGOs, right? So whether it was the schools or it was the NGOs, and then we were reaching out to places as far out as some village in the outskirts of Trichy or some home near Bellary. So it definitely opened up, broadened our horizons, took us far and beyond, and brought us closer to millions of people. And that entire connect that happened with a volunteer and a beneficiary was something that was almost magical. And that scale was something we had not thought of. So I think that was one decision. And even the reverse, we were the first to get back on field after getting vaccinated and saying that now it's enough, you need to get back on. So it's been basically these two choices in the last couple of years.
Thank you all, ladies. It's been like a roller coaster ride for many of you in many businesses, but there are some best things that you've done, and I think there's a lot that's going to happen. Good luck to you all. But before I leave you guys off the stage, there's no Karan Johar's hamper with me, but there's fireside, there's sort of rapid fire questions. So I wish I had. No, I should have made that. We'll give other hampers, she says. I have the okay from. Okay, I'll start with Rinku. I don't know why I want to start with you, but I felt when I was putting these questions.
Go for it. This is your revenge.
Bungee jumping or skydiving?
Skydiving.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you why, but yeah. Book or Netflix?
Book.
What will be your 3 wishes to the genie?
Sorry?
3 wishes to the genie if you ever see him.
That, I should be allowed to dance as long as I want to. That there should always be enough hot chocolate in this world to keep everyone happy. And third is, of course, that everyone should learn to give back in abundance.
Nice. If you could ask God one question, what would it be?
It may not be a question. It would just be gratitude saying thank you.
Shows truly a social entrepreneur. Yeah? The movie character you wish you were?
Lucille Ball. I Love Lucy.
Leader or a follower?
Follower. I think every follower can lead.
Thank you. Thank you for that. A big round of applause for Rinku. Sheetal, what motivates you to keep going? One word.
My entrepreneurs.
How do you prevent burnout?
Netflix.
How do you manage your work-life balance?
Switch off when I'm in one of the roles.
How do you manage stress?
Family.
Great. What are the most common mistakes that new business owners make?
As you mentioned earlier, do it all. Not delegate. Sometimes we really feel the burn.
That's good.
Yeah.
Bungee jumping or skydiving?
Skydiving.
That's because you have a tandem jump, is it? That's yeah. Thanks, you did very well. Thank you. Shweta, over to you. Don't kill me for this, but anyway, after this. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
A day where I get some time with my daughter before she's off to school, and a great day of just client and leadership meetings and time with my parents over lunch, and again seeing my daughter. I'm clearly obsessed with my.
Cute. Movie that resonates your life and business.
My life and business. I don't know, but Life of Pi.
Oh. Favorite outfit when you're at home?
Dirty pajamas and old t-shirts.
Netflix or a book?
I wish it was a book, but Netflix.
Surely the OTT is the best way to go. What was your favorite school subject? Don't tell me it was math. Okay, which superpower you choose? Invisibility or mind reading?
Sorry?
Which superpower would you choose? Invisibility or mind reading?
Mind reading. It would be.
You do that when you meet the client? Well, that was an end of the rapid fire questions, and all of you did very well. I'll turn it over to Jyoti. If any of the audiences have got any questions, please do raise your hands and we'll send the mic to you. But I want a very active audience, like as much as the speakers were so active in, telling so many things. I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Yes.
Hi, and I think it was superb. I just got to know about this session yesterday, and I just called Mr. Venkat and told, please come. And I was like, and I'm glad I made it. Thank you, a very powerful session. I also, deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. So one question which keeps coming from a lot of entrepreneurs is, hiring is a big task. So once we hire, how do we keep them motivated enough? Yeah, we're not paying them much because you're startups. So how do you keep them motivated enough? Incentive schemes are there, you'll get bonus, all that is being told. And yeah, people get at the end of the year. But how do you keep them motivated to keep running and running and running and there are mistakes, there are, flaws. And at that point of time, the entrepreneur is just blowing out of proportion. I've seen them blow out of proportion and then they will go patch up all that. But I still feel, how do we motivate? How to
No, great question. It's a daily problem. In fact, at this point at the firm, we have 27 vacancies, right? And a lot of them are very senior positions, right? Partner level kind of positions. So it is a big struggle. Once we hire them, the question was, how do we keep them motivated? A few things that have worked, and of course, I'd love to learn more if you have better ideas. A few things that have worked for us is one, setting a vision. For what, or at least a plan for what we want to do for the year, and sharing that out with the leadership and with the team that's with the leadership, and saying, hey, this is where we want to get. Now, do you have ideas of how, for how you want to go about it? And you're free to go and try it, and it's okay if it fails, within this, and we're okay to bet this much, this kind of an amount on this. So they start to feel like, okay, this is my baby. And I'm allowed to do things the way I want to do it, provided I know that this is what I need to accomplish, right? And of course, we have mid reviews and checks. That's one. Another is a combination of hard love and soft love. So being the bad person sometimes, and compensating it with the good person. So sometimes we play bad cop, good cop between my dad and I, and it works so well. My dad is the good cop. That's the only bad part of this. And I have to be the bad cop. But it works.
Any other questions?
This is a question to Ruchi. Rinku. I have seen you during your FICCI chairmanship days, and I've seen you doing so many wonderful things. And I've never seen you lose your cool. I just want to know, is it yoga or pranayam?
I have my moments for sure. But I think I just seek balance in everything I do, and that keeps me calm. And I do yoga and pranayam both.
Another one for Sheetal. Before every exhibition, you send in such a beautiful invites, the way you send the worded invites and the gift that comes with it. And I'm sure you're paying a lot out of your pocket to, keep the goodwill going, making your clients feel happy. Where do you get that feel of wanting to share? Because most of the people don't even realize what you do, and I've always admired you for that. And thank you for always making us feel so special.
Thank you so much, Rachna, and you've been always my biggest cheerleader. So, of course, I always thought, like, when we invite somebody especially we try and make it innovative every time. It is different with every time. And we think that, that is when gifts are just a extension of your personal invitation. So when you gift somebody, you're connected to that person. It is not just a random gift. And I don't engage any PR for doing that. So it is totally from the desk of Style Bazaar. So there is no PR giving you without any feeling. The invitations are extended to people who I'm actually connected. So automatically the sense of sharing and the sense of, having you there and making you special becomes a part of it, because I'm so connected to each one who I'm sending the invites to. So that makes it easy also, and that makes it special. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add. I was just thinking about some of the things that you shared around COVID, and it was so inspiring, Rinku. All the work that you picked up. I remember when it happened, our business, our process consulting business, came to a standstill, zero revenues, right? And we had so many people in the team that we didn't, very happy and very relieved that we didn't have to let go of anybody. But at that time, we said, how do we make, how do we keep the motivation up? So one of the things that we did, and sort of correlates to, the question that you had asked, was, what can we do now to help with COVID? It's there, we have no business, nothing to do. So given that we have a problem and we have resources, smart people, what is it that we can do? So our team had actually put together a desk, which, and it was there, the idea, of course, was shared, but after that, the whole execution where they set up a desk to help people find hospital beds. And at the end of every day on our office group, people would post, I helped an old person find a bed today, and I helped somebody find 2 beds today. Right? They had a full resource bank that they built and a helpline that was circulated, and it made them feel so good. Even today, when we, at office events, one person from HR says, I found so many beds during COVID, and it makes me feel so good about working here. So completely unrelated to what we do, but then she still mentions it when we talk about it.
So let me just take on from what she said. Volunteering is a great way to reiterate employee engagement and retain them, because you actually make them tap within themselves. We have a lot of corporate volunteers who work with us, and they swear by it. And they recognize these people who go beyond the call of action. The leadership, they walk the talks. A lot of entrepreneurs do it, especially when they have larger groups, they put it by rotation, or they also do it over weekends when they have smaller groups. So, yeah.
I remember this, as when I was and Tata definitely does it better. So they used to have something called the TCC, a Tata Community Care Initiative, that every individual had to spend 40 hours in 6 months. They can do whatever volunteering that they want to, but they should be spending, and they have to report it back. And every quarter they would have a review, and there's a quality value, every time. So this sort of helps a lot of companies, reinforce the thought that there is an empathy, and that empathy is you're privileged and somebody is not privileged. And if you see that, you connect back as to how good you are, and how, what privileges that you've got. So that's one thing, probably adding to what said. Anyone else? Yeah.
So very inspiring, successful stories, I must say, truly inspiring. And the question is, as we discussed that it's very challenging to retain talent in the organization, how important it is to have succession planning for independent roles in the organization, and how important it to have succession planning for we as owners and at.
Very nice question.
So, I can just say that not exactly succession planning, but there always has to be somebody else in command. There always has to be a blueprint with someone, because we are in a dynamic industry. And it cannot be that, we are there, sometime, we could have an emergency and the event dates don't change. So I can't say succession planning, but there's always a blueprint which is created. As of now, it is with my family. So we did that probably 1 year into the business, where my daughter exactly knows what happened, the process, and we have a blueprint which she can follow. So because of the dynamic nature of industry, it could change industry to industry, where, it could come later, because we are from a business background, things could set in a little later once the process and the whole is in place. So for us, it is different, and I think it changes as per industry. So you could.
So there's a few things that we do as far as retention, and it's a consistent problem, right? In a consulting, it's all about the people that we have. We have made our own share of mistakes, and there's a few things that we do which has helped. One is we have a concept of R1 and R2. So responsible 1 and responsible 2 for every critical role in the organization. So we've split the roles in the company to critical and non-critical, and for every critical there is an R1 and R2. And that's meant that we've had to hire more people than we needed. So where we needed, in the audit team, for example, where it used to be run by 3 managers, today we have 8 on account of growth, plus also on account of just the R1, R2 concept. So every client has 2 people tagged to them and not just 1. Because every time somebody left, we felt like, oh, we were redoing the same cycle. Every 2 years, we would go back to the same cycle because people just leave, right? Yesterday, somebody came to interview for an EA position and said, I've already been in this company 1 year. Yeah. So, and they think it's absolutely normal. Right, so that's one thing that we have done. Second is earlier we used to have the concept of department heads and vertical heads. Now, so 1 person for each vertical, 1 person for each department. Now we have 2 for each, and that actually helps with performance also. Because one sort of motivates the other, it eliminates the risk of being very dependent, because so often it happens that, oh, we trained somebody for 2 years, and the person just left and we're back to square one. So, so we've learned, failing several times, that it's important to have multiple department heads, and within them we create, some excitement so that there's no role clash. Because again, if there's 2, the question is who takes ownership. So we've split it. So somebody will be in charge of, let's say, hiring and training and a set of clients. Somebody will be in charge of a set of clients and research within the firm. Right? So they still have different roles, but essentially they're doing the same thing. So that's one thing that on succession planning, ownership is a tough question. A tough thing we're trying to solve for. A large part has been systems and processes. That's probably how we know to run the world. So building a lot of data at different points of time so that somebody new who comes in has a responsibility matrix that's already fixed, knows these are the steps. So these are a few things that we've done. Happy to learn. Has anyone gone through this and felt they've done better?
Any more questions, or I'll switch over to Jyoti, maybe? Yeah, Vasuki? Yeah. 2, okay. Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. So my name is Ashley, and we are from ISM Business School. It was a wonderful session, ma'am, and very inspiring. So my question is to Sheetal, ma'am. Ma'am, every entrepreneur has their own story, and an entrepreneur isn't born in a year 1 or 2. So how long did it take you to develop into a successful entrepreneur, ma'am? How long? Like, what is the time period you had?
From the time I started my own venture, it's been 7 years now.
Okay.
So, 7 years. Yeah.
Hi. Oh, I forgot that I have a bad throat. My question is to Rinku. So before you digitized, can you understand me? I don't know if I'm audible. Before you digitized, you had COVID. So did your experience of dealing with previous disasters like the floods help you in terms of, you had to multiply the modalities and the number of the methods, how you addressed it. COVID is very different. So what really enabled you to do what you did in such a great magnitude when time was limited and your experience was just the flood, not just the floods? I mean that this was something more challenging. That's one question. And the second one is, you said your volunteering quadrupled when you digitized. So were you able to actually make each volunteering hour accountable? I mean, were you able to actually precisely tell them to log in the hours, or how did that happen?
So, yes, it definitely quadrupled. In fact, that also I'm being very safe when I gave these numbers, because the whole world was sitting in their homes. Someone sitting in the US was also volunteering for India. So it was very much possible. It's while the pandemic isolated people, it brought together thousands of people as volunteers. You could sit on your laptop and work, or Netflix, and just take those 2 hours out and do work. And this was not recreational work they were doing. They were either doing follow-up calls for COVID patients, or they were teaching children who were staying in villages, or they were doing health awareness sessions, or they were doing resource guide. So everything was monitored. You have a layered, it's like a proper structured team that we have over there. And people are, like the team leads have teams with them. They will have multiple shift-based volunteers over there, depending on when they are free, which part of the world they're from. And then you have coordinators, and then you have the project in charge. So it is very much, very well managed and structured. And all it took was a mobile phone, your laptop, and you needed to be computer friendly. So yes, that is something we did in de facto. It happened in real. About the other thing, I think the Chennai floods were actually a turning point in volunteering for our city. Whenever there's a disaster, there's a crisis, there's this innate need in everyone to do something that can make, that will help somebody and make you feel better as well. So what we did right at that point, and actually it was the floods that gave us the confidence. Every evening I used to tweet, I used to share on social media saying, need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for tomorrow, and these are the drop-off points. That was it. Or need 200 volunteers to come to Ramakalyan Mandap to pack provision kits. 300 used to come. So I guess that experience, followed by the cyclones that we had, followed by the rains last year, somewhere people have been coming. We live in a very, very compassionate city. I think we're blessed that way. And when it came to COVID, it didn't take me long. I knew we could do this. So you always dream audacious. You always aim high. If you want to hit a certain level, you have to aim higher than that. So it just happened. I think so much of goodwill coming together, so many people's thoughts, and that, ability to want to help, that intention is what made it happen. I don't think I can take credit for it, but it happened through the organization.
Good evening, all. Actually, I'm Chitra Nedek from Priya Ma'am's firm. I got a very good insights from women entrepreneurs like you. But I have a question. I am not into entrepreneurship right now, but I am looking for. And my family has no background. What I learned is majority of you have a very good family background of I don't have anything like that. So for such a person like me in the middle age who is not having entrepreneurial background or any community support, so could you give me some suggestions or tips? I know it's very awkward to ask, but yeah, we have a lot of products. We are working on a lot of products and innovations, but if we want to hit the market, we have to go through this process. Yeah.
Tell me, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking you? Huh? How old are you?
I am 40s. I'm at the early 40s.
So the founder of Nykaa was 50 when she started Nykaa, right?
Yeah.
And all she said was start small, and then watch it grow.
Okay.
We can give you many tips, but ultimately you have to take the plunge and you will learn.
Okay.
Women are instinctive and very, very capable managers and entrepreneurs even in the house. Like she said, she's a good CEO because she CEOs her house. I think we all do it. So it's about taking the plunge.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi. So it was a very interesting session to attend. So my question is, as an entrepreneur, you have a vision, right? You start out with a vision. But I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you must be able to convey that vision or propagate that vision through your organization or through your employees. So what steps did you take to propagate your vision, or how do you carry along your team along by showing your passion to make the team understand your vision or what is behind motivating you, so that they also get motivated and work along on it on the same lines?
So it's a very important piece, on vision and getting people aligned, because not all times can we pay the highest in the market. And the good news is that the salary is not the only thing that people actually look for, and sometimes not the biggest thing that people look for. They know that they earn lesser, and they're okay because there's other things that the company is probably giving them, and one of them is actually is a sense of purpose and a sense of vision. So the few things that can be done are actually quarterly check-ins or yearly check-ins where we have, and I learned this from larger corporates, we have town halls where we get everybody together and very transparently say, hey, this is where we were as a company, and this is where, and it's a scary exercise to begin with, because in a year that we haven't done well, it could mean that people leave. So we still try and sort of share, this is where we were, this is where we have come, and these are the reasons that we've done well and not done so well, and this is the plan for the next year, this is the goal for the next year. So literally just that. And also another thing is, several people get motivated by a sense of purpose, because if we were going to share that, we have this this many clients versus this many, it doesn't matter to that person, because at the end of the day it's the salary which that person gets. But a sense of purpose to say that, hey, we've touched the lives of so many people, versus what we're going to do, and converting that into a sense of purpose actually makes a lot of difference, that we're going to enable this many people, this many companies achieve their vision, or they couldn't break out, they were stagnant at this level, and after working with us they could break out and touch so many employees in that journey. So that's one thing, which is translating a financial number into impact. I think many advertisements do it very well, right? It's not a mattress, it's good sleep that we're selling. So similar. Purpose.
Can we have so very clear, ask and you will receive, right? I think the session was amazing, where it's very reflective. We'll go back home and think, oh, I should have asked that. Don't worry, you send your questions to MMA or to FICCIFlow online. We'll take care of it. All right, now when we are just about to finish, in a little while, I'm going to request the ladies to wait here, and may I ask our chairperson, Ms. Prasanna Vasanadu, incoming chair, Ms. Raji Raju, and our secretary, Niyati, to come up to the stage, please. While they're walking up, I would like to say, we were talking so much about the mentors, proteges, and how we hold on to resource. Tirukkural 5:17. Go back and research. Years ago he said, if you find out somebody who can do the job, let him do it. This was written a long time ago. It was very befitting. The lovely ladies here shouldn't even be using that. The entrepreneurs will be giving a small token of appreciation to the nice speakers who took so much of time to be here with us, and I'm sure all of you have something to take home. Our chairperson will give it to our pastor, Ms. Rinku Mecheri. Incoming chair, Ms. Raji Raju, will give it to chairperson. We want all the ladies to wait here, please. Yeah, for a photograph. Yeah. Our able secretary for this year, Ms. Niyati Mehta, will take a script. Sheetal, our very own photo session. Now there goes our chairperson taking care of Priya Gautam, who was the moderator for today's session. We all just know about the photo session. May I request all of you to just wait here? And I'm going to invite our incoming chairperson, Ms. Raji Raju. After the whole thing. Raji is not only creative, she's a passionate person. Like we're talking about giving back personification. We talk about mentors and protege, and the first name that will come to anybody will be her. She has been part as a joint promoter for Vetri Software. She believes that you have to give back to grow. And in my term, let me put it, as she rises, she lives. She believes that working together and being inclusive is all that it takes. She's part of the Isha Foundation, Andhra Mahila Sabha. May I request her to propose the note of thanks. Over to Raji Raju.
There is always a first time. Never had an introduction for a vote of thanks, but thank you so much for those kind words. Please have a seat. Not that I'm going to take long. It was a fantastic session indeed and great take-home value. Thank you all for being here in great numbers. Shweta, bringing tech adoption and automation in existing businesses to aid them in rebuilding and re-innovating themselves in a timely fashion, and how you coped, quote unquote, with your challenges as a woman and a young one juggling family and work was very inspiring. Nobody is indispensable, and it's difficult to wear all the hats, and one must delegate and empower one's team is a good learning for many young entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. Sheetal, coming from a financial background and reinventing yourself to a new vertical, fashion, and being successful at that is exemplary. Constantly equipping yourself with the latest marketing strategies for a 2-day show and overcoming your challenges as a woman entrepreneur and being the risk taker to get back to an in-person exhibition post-COVID is nothing less than laudable. Rinku ji, using your branding and marketing background and skills to create a structure in an unstructured ecosystem with no experience in developmental sector, with an intent to give back to the community with no commercial outcomes is a commendable achievement. We are proud to have you amongst us. Your advice for startup to focus on social impact as outcome and the rest will fall in place, and passion, purpose and persistence being the mantra for the youngsters is, I'm sure, well imbibed by all the next gen present here today. For me personally, when you mentioned that everybody was feeling down, but when they did something good for others, it pepped them up. Dream audaciously. This thought hit home for me. Thank you, Group Captain Vijay Kumar and MMA for the venue, speakers, our flow members, our rock stars Rinku Mecheri, Shweta Kochar, Sheetal Jain for giving your valuable time. Of course, our very effective moderator who's got the best out of these speakers. Please give it up for Priya Gautam. Thank you, Priya. Special thanks to gifting partner Subha Prada. Thanks to the startup cell team, Priya, Jyoti, Rachna, Deepa, who under the able leadership of Prasanna Vasanadu, our chairperson for Flow this year, brought us this inspiring event, the 4th episode of Her Story. Ever grateful to our sponsors, Satyabama and Mehta Jewelers. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. There's tea served outside. Today will not be as successful without all of you here, and especially for those who have logged in live. Thank you so much, MMA. I know you gave so much of time. Group Captain Venkatraman, oh, to you, Vakeshwari, and many others, Vijay, and the whole lot. Thank you. May I now request my Flow family to come up here for a formal photograph, for a documentation. And for everybody who is here, thank you. And please have your tea before you leave. We look forward to seeing you all. Chitra, come, Chitra.